Nigerian troops should have closed the chapter. Instead, it opened a far more unsettling one. Their aircraft entered Burkina Faso's airspace without authorization, landed under opaque circumstances, and triggered an immediate military lockdown across the capital. For a region already strained by fractures between ECOWAS and the Sahel states, the timing could not have been more dangerous. Officials later described the landing as a technical emergency, yet military analysts quickly pointed to inconsistencies in the flight path, the troop manifest, and the silence that followed the incident. Inside Burkina Faso's security circles, the key question was never why the plane malfunctioned. It was why it appeared where it did, carrying soldiers whose mission remained unclear. Releasing the troops was not a sign of weakness, it was a strategic decision made after a rapid intelligence assessment and a message to every external power watching West Africa's new alignment take shape. The soldiers returned home, but the doubts, the suspicions, and the geopolitical ripples stayed behind. And those ripples are now shaping the real story. I speak to you today because the incident involving the 11 Nigerian troops did not appear out of nowhere. In our region, nothing happens without a chain of actions beneath the surface. When that military aircraft entered our airspace without authorization, every alarm we had built for the protection of our sovereignty activated at once. As president, I do not have the luxury of assuming good intentions. I must defend the integrity of our land, our people, and our future. When my commanders informed me that the plane had landed in Ouagadougou, I asked one question. Are we dealing with an accident or a mission that was never declared? That question shaped every decision that followed. The soldiers were detained, questioned, and assessed. Not because we sought confrontation, but because Burkina Faso has reached a point where we allow no room for uncertainty. The Sahel is under pressure from every direction. Any mistake can open the door to destabilization. People outside our borders saw the release of the troops as the end of the matter. They were wrong. What happened inside our operations room was far more revealing. The inconsistencies in the flight report, the unusual route, the silence from those who should have informed us ahead of time. These details forced us to treat the event as a potential breach rather than a simple malfunction. We needed clarity before we allowed anyone to return home. Some will say we acted aggressively. I say we acted responsibly. Burkina Faso has been targeted before by hidden agendas, by unannounced flights, by intelligence operations masked as humanitarian movements. I will not repeat the errors of past governments that trusted the wrong forces and paid in blood. Releasing the troops was not an act of softness. It was a decision grounded in the information we gathered and the stability we intend to maintain within the Sahel Alliance. We showed that we will respond firmly when our sovereignty is breached, yet we will also choose diplomacy when the truth clears the fog. But let me be clear to every neighbor and every power watching. Burkina Faso will question anything that threatens our security. We will challenge anyone who tests our borders, and we will respond with unity, discipline, and conviction. Because this incident was only the beginning of a larger game unfolding around us, and I intend to expose that game piece by piece. When the plane touched down without clearance, it was not the aircraft that concerned me most. It was the silence that followed. In West Africa, silence is rarely accidental. It usually signals hesitation, confusion, or an attempt to hide intent. For several hours, neither Abuja nor ECOWAS provided a clear explanation for the presence of their troops on Burkinabe soil. That silence told me something was unfolding behind closed doors, and it was my responsibility to understand what. Inside our command center, every detail was placed under scrutiny. The flight's path did not match the official story. The communication logs showed irregular pauses. Even the state of the aircraft raised questions about whether the malfunction was genuine or used as a cover. I told my generals that Burkina Faso would not accept narratives that do not align with the facts. We have survived too much deception to return to blind trust. During the questioning of the 11 troops, my priority was not to humiliate them nor to create conflict with Nigeria. It was to establish clarity in a region where misinformation is often deployed as a weapon. The soldiers appeared disciplined, but unsure of how much they were permitted to reveal. That alone signaled that the mission carried layers beyond what was shared publicly. I will not disclose every detail of what was learned, not because I fear consequences, but because national security demands discretion. Yet I can say this. There were elements that did not align with a simple emergency landing, and that knowledge shaped how we responded. Our decision to release the troops came after 3 strategic considerations. First, escalating the situation would have opened the door for ECOWAS actors who are waiting for any excuse to paint Burkina Faso as unstable. Second, the Sahel Alliance values predictable cooperation within the region, even when tension arises. Third, we had already achieved what mattered most. We asserted our sovereignty and made it clear that no military force enters our territory without explanation. I chose to release the soldiers because Burkina Faso had already won the most important battle. We demonstrated discipline, intelligence, and control. We showed Africa that the new Sahel does not panic, does not bow, and does not react blindly. But we also uncovered signals that this incident is part of a wider pattern, a pattern that threatens the balance of power in West Africa. And now that pattern must